Welcome back to The Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
Welcome back here to Pittsburgh at Netroots Nation. Make sure you check out the work they're doing, netrootsnation.org, the website. Voting. Yes, voting seems to be one of the common themes here at the Netroots Nation conference, getting people out to vote. How are we going to get the young people out to vote? Because they seem to be the ones everyone's relying on to save democracy, to save the nation from, well, doom and gloom. And here to share some thoughts on how we do just that, I've asked Santiago Meyer to come sit down with us. He's the executive director of Voters of Tomorrow, votersoftomorrow.org, the website. Santiago, thanks for taking time for us.
Thank you for having me.
So that's the big question. How do we make sure your generation gets to the polls?
Well, Gen Z is as energized as ever. We have seen in the far right wage a war against Gen Z, and we are ready to really go back and tell them that we're not the right generation to be messed with. So the way to get us out to vote is really just by talking to our generation, showing them what fighting for us really looks like, and talking to us in a way that we can understand, not just being condescending, not just calling us naive because we think that big things can happen, but actually going in and talking about our priorities, talking about climate change, talking about gun violence, talking about how we will protect abortion rights across the country, because that is something that young people deeply care about. And we need to make sure that we're talking to young people in places where they are. We're talking to them in ways they understand. And that is why organizations like Voters of Tomorrow are doing the work, because we are Gen Z. We know how we like to talk because we talk ourselves that way. And we really need to be investing in more organizations like VOT to make sure that young people can lead the charge to get young people to the polls.
Now, I look at your generation. Every generation has trials and tribulations. They've got things they go through. But I'm looking at the last 20 years, and this has been a pretty difficult 20 years of crisis, of economic collapse, of pandemic, of all kinds of things. Your generation has seen some stuff already.
Yeah, I mean, my friend John DeLavolpe, he leads the Institute of Polling at Harvard, and he recently wrote a book about Gen Z and politics. And the argument that he makes is that every generation goes through crises.
Sure.
But that the big difference with Generation C is that while other generations generally have a come-together moment at the end of that, Gen Z has not had that. We have had, we were born with 9/11. We grew up during the financial crisis. We graduated during a pandemic into another financial crisis. We have grown up with gun shooter drills. The world is burning with climate change. And we have not had a moon landing. We had not had a fall of the wall of Berlin moment where everyone can come together and really appreciate humanity. So we have seen the worst of the world, but we've never truly seen the good parts of it. And that has really just forced Gen Z to try to fix all of this, because we understand the damage that it's done to us, and we don't want it to happen to the next generation.
Yeah, see, I look at some of the videos on Instagram and on TikTok and other places where your generation is viewed as the weak generation. I've hurt myself. That kind of. I'm sure you've seen them. Is that fair?
I don't think it's fair at all. I mean, I think the fact that we are able to talk about what we feel makes us strong, because it's something that could have solved so many issues in the past. I mean, when people talk about what they're feeling, it doesn't make them weak. It actually makes it so that you can have a conversation about what is going on and how to make sure people aren't hurt. And especially with everything going on, when we've had crisis after crisis after crisis, when many of us got involved because of mass shootings, when the ocean is catching on fire because of climate change, it is incredibly important to understand how people feel. Because if we're not doing that, we don't know what people are going through, and people are going through a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to my formative years, and trying to find that 20-year period where you grew up through. And I'm thinking, I remember Iran-Contra. I remember mutually assured destruction. Diving under desks for drills, because evidently school desks were the way that nuclear winter was avoided.
Absolutely. Your desk would protect you from nuclear fallout.
But, we all knew that was a joke. But you throw that school shooting thing in there, that's something that's really possible and frightening. And I can't imagine what it's like to go through that. And I fear for my kids.
No, I mean, you have now an entire generation of students who literally jump when they hear a balloon pop because you never know if it's just a balloon popping or whether you're about to be the next victim of a mass shooting.
Yeah.
And that is horrible. It has left an entire generation absolutely scarred and damaged and living afraid for their lives. And that really does something to people. I mean, you can't expect people to be healthy when they're always living alarmed and always ready to jump under a table.
Yeah. You listen to the Rick Smith Show with Santiago Meyer, Executive Director of Voters of Tomorrow. Votersoftomorrow.org, the website, if you want to check out the work that they do and get involved. Now, the big question is, the million-dollar question is, your generation is, being touted as the most political generation. You're going to vote. Will the numbers bear that out? Will you be able to get, and I know that's your goal, going to get them out?
Yes. I mean, yes. We are aiming to exceed 2018 turnout and to break midterm records with the highest youth voting turnout. And we are quite confident we're going to reach that goal because, again, Gen Z is under attack. The far right is coming for us, and we're going to show them that they pissed off the wrong generation. So we are not going to back down. We're not going to stay home. We're going to turn out and vote and make sure that they are voted out in such a manner that they can never hold political office again.
Well, that is the hope. But, again, history has shown us that the young vote sometimes doesn't. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of talk. I always want them to show up. Miss that day.
Listen, we've overcome history in 2018. We've overcome history in 2020, and we're going to overcome history in 2022.
Please do, and especially here in Pennsylvania, because there's a crazy guy running for governor.
Doug Mastriano has no clue what's waiting for him when Gen Z turns out in November.
So what's the message to your fellow Gen Zers? What's that? What do you tell my kids?
I mean, it's really a simple message. The far right is scared of you because they understand that if you vote and you start using the power that you have, that they will never be politically viable again. That's why they're coming for all of us. That's why they're coming for books. That's why they're coming for our rights, because they want you to be afraid. They want you to be discouraged, and they also want you to be uneducated. There is this narrative that the far right is coming for teachers, and now that is also being encouraged by the teacher shortage. But the teachers are not the ultimate goal in their quest. Teachers are just in the way. They're coming for teachers because teachers are the bulletproof vest protecting students for what the far right actually wants to accomplish, which is to absolutely brainwash Generation C and now Generation Alpha. So my message to Gen Z is use that power. You have the numbers, you have the strength, use the power to punish the far right for everything that they're doing and hold them accountable for coming for your rights, for coming for your books, for coming for your right to control your own body. And once we do that, we are able to create the future that we truly want.
There you go. Santiago, I appreciate you taking time for us. I hope you're right. I want people to come out and vote, especially young people, because, look, I'm looking at you guys as the next greatest generation to save us, save our democracy, save the planet. A lot on your shoulders.
We appreciate your support. Thank you for having me.
Good stuff. Thanks so much, Santiago Meyer, Executive Director of Voters of Tomorrow. Quick break back here from Netroots Nation. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show.
The Rick Smith Show, where we're